This video is brought to you by Patreon supporter Alan.
Be still, my beating heart. Another Gen 1 PST. This is also graciously sent in by Patreon provider Alan. When he said he was going to send me some stuff, I was in for a treat when I opened that box. I've been wanting to get my hands on more Gen 1 PSTs for a while, and I do have one of my Patreon providers that's interested in sending me the 2.5 to 10 by 44, but that's second focal plane and not known anywhere near as well as being as good as this bad boy. This thing is still one of the best MPVOs that I've got my hands on, and that is why it's going nowhere, except for on my gun. Anyway, this is an older optic. However, you can still buy this brand new from Vortex for around $350. Now, that might sound like a lot of money, and well, honestly, in the LPVO world, it is, because for about the same price, you can get yourself the new SIG MSR with a mount. You can get a Burris RT6. You can buy basically all of the Strike Eagles. So this thing has a really stiff competition ahead of it. But Vortex still makes this brand new, so it's got to be pretty good and still selling well if that's the case, right? Well, that's what we're here to find out. The box is very standard Vortex, good enough. All of their stuff comes in here. There's actually a lot of extra stuff that Alan put in, so I'm not going to be going through all of it because most of it doesn't come with the optic. However, what you're guaranteed going to get is the optic and the instruction booklets. So we'll flip through these really quick. This is the Reticle Booklet. This is in MOA. It's very similar to the segmented circle that you find on the Trijicon products. And I'm okay with that. It doesn't have any drops, but it is, of course, a milling reticle. So this way you do have all the holds. And because this thing has target turrets, you can effectively use this as, you know, a bit of a precision optic, or at least you can dial in your exact dope for what you need at any given time. Now, again, I'm not necessarily the biggest fan of that, but you might be, and if you are, this might be right up your alley. That's basically it. It's as simple as this thing gets. So let's take a look at this little guy. It's got the exact same style layout as my 2.5 to 10 with the Illumination Control on the back. Fast focus eyepiece is very easy to turn, like way too easy. This thing is going to get bumped, and probably if it's under enough recoil, it will slowly start to shift. So if you're wondering why everything looks blurry, I would check with this first. Anyway, all the way out, quarter turn in, and we do have some wiggle there. Actually, a decent amount. Very easy to feel. You could probably even see it. But the nice thing is, if it breaks, Vortex will fix this, no questions asked. Doesn't feel the best. You could hear a little bit of rubbing inside, but that could be against the seal. It does leave some to be desired. I wish these were tighter, but it's just not the case. I don't know how old this is. I don't know how used this is. You can clearly see it's in very good shape. There's not even really any witness marks on the scope body itself from rings. Maybe a little bit right there. But that's it. As far as how this thing is finished, very light marks from my nail, but they wipe right off. It's a very smooth finish, and it's going to be very easy to clean. Illumination Control clearly is on the back half of this optic, and you go from 1 to 10 with offs in between. Again, it's showing its age. Whether it's used a lot or just older technology, this is just the way it is sometimes. There's a lot of play once it's where it's got to be, but it's got a pretty satisfying click getting to where you want it. But there is a significant amount of play. Battery compartment cover does have a nice O-ring on the corner, and well, that's not the verdict that I was looking for. You have a big rubber pad on the back, which you could put positive forward pressure on this battery. You can see we have 2, 4, 6, we have 8 fingers in there. There is a little bit of an O-ring. It's actually more like a D-ring that encompass all these fingers to put very light pressure on it. But as you can see, it's it's holding it in there more than adequate. Does the illumination work? Yeah, the illumination still works. So good. I'm happy with battery compartments if they have at least the 6 fingers. This thing's got 8, so it's gotta be 20% better. Anyway, on to the magnification control. We have 1 at the top, and 4 is way over here. Look at that. So you have a really nice short throw to this thing. The splining on this is very aggressive. You have great grip on this. I don't know why most manufacturers can't understand. Like, you need a little bit of traction on this thing. I don't know if you could hear it. A little bit of rubbing inside. Nothing too crazy, though. It's nice and smooth. It feels excellent. Very well damped. And it's a nice short throw. You do have this nice little fiber optic rod on top, so this way when you're behind the gun, you can easily see where the mark is, even though it doesn't really matter. But you also have the exact same rod on top of your elevation turret, which is nice to be able to look at it quickly and realize, oh, that's not at 0, and come back. Well, the 0 stop on these is funny. I'll showcase that in a second. Actually, you know what? I'll do that right now. On to the turrets. These are as easy as they get. 0. These are 1 click as a half MOA, which is perfectly adequate. And just listen to that. Perfect. Pretty tight. Very positive click when you're getting out of it. As far as how much you've come up with your indicator, it's a little hard to see on these. You can see the 0, and then it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. And it's the bottom of the line on the 0. You see that? It's kind of hard to see, but that is how you figure out how far up you are. So if I do one of these, I'm not going to let you see it. I'm going to have you guess on this one. Where is that? How many turns are we up? Kind of hard, right? It's hard for me to tell, but I think we're between 3 and 4. I completely guessed myself. I just cranked this up and wasn't looking. That's not the biggest issue in the world, because these do have 0 stops, but the 0 stops are a little old school. So, bit of a bummer. There are no shims under this. However, I do have another Gen 1 with shims in it. Yes, you shim the 0 stop on this. This top reluctor is the part that goes up and down, and the bottom one is, well, it stands fast, doesn't move. But you have 2 nice O-rings there, and this thing is plenty greased up, which is partly why the action is so nice. Anyway, to set the 0 stop, you get it to where your 0 is. Then you take the included shim kit, or you could buy these. See if I can slide one of these out without destroying it. You take these very, very thin brass shims, and you shim up under the reluctor, and you can see how many I need for this thing to be zeroed. And that is how you set your 0 stop. I'm so glad they came up with new technology on these, because these shims are a pain in the butt. Not only that, the way this is set up, if you're cranking this thing to go back down and you are at, let's say 0, and you don't realize it, and you crank it, you are effectively trying to separate the reluctor in half. You're pulling this up because it's compressing against the brass washers and putting a massive amount of pressure on the inside. So you could either strip the threads on the set screws, or actually not, you won't strip the threads on the set screws. You're going to strip the tip of the set screws against the reluctor, or it's going to just lift up and destroy itself. I do not like this setup at all. Any new technology 0 stop is better than what this is. But you don't have to use it. You could run it without it, and I wouldn't necessarily recommend it, because you might have a hard time, again, with how small these little lines are, of seeing exactly where you are. I completely forgot to mention how lightweight this thing feels, and at just shy of 16 ounces, it is pretty lightweight. Granted, this is only a 1:4. This does have only a 30mm tube, but it's still nice and light. This is actually very reminiscent of the old Trijicon AccuPower 1:4 that I reviewed, even with the reticle. So I wonder if this could be a budget-friendly AccuPower / Credo 1:4 second focal plane variant. Well, there's only one way to find out.
Attempting to keep these videos short and sweet has not gone very well for me lately. I just seem to talk on and on and on and on endlessly. So, short, sweet, to the point. Across the power lines, not that much distortion. We see a little bit more of the scope body than I'd like to, but it's not as bad as some other options out there. The reticle is actually a very usable size. In fact, it's a little bit thicker in the crosshair, I feel, and on the center dot than the AccuPower's or the Credo's segmented circle is. It's easier for my eye to pick it up, and that only means it's going to be a little bit faster to get on target. And from my usage of it, that's exactly what I seem to have had. Anyway, the image quality here at 1x seems to be pretty good, and so does the illumination. Granted, it's not middle of the day, bright sunny out, it's early morning, but it still looks pretty good, enough to create contrast where it counts, and that's what really matters. Increase the magnification to 4x, and you know what? We still have a pretty damn good looking image. For this thing being as old technology as it is, it's gotta be almost 10 years old at this point, it's looking pretty damn promising. But this is supposed to be a short unboxing, not a full review, so we're gonna leave it here at this. So far, this thing's shaping up to be pretty good as long as you don't mind how it's set up as far as the turrets go, the eyepiece, and the illumination controls. As long as you're good with all that, so far it's seeming pretty good. Alan, thank you so much for sending this in. Everybody, please stay tuned for the full review to come soon, and thank you very much for watching. As always, see you again next time. And a huge thank you to my Patreon providers. Without you, this truly wouldn't be possible. If you'd like to help support the channel but don't want to join my Patreon, I completely understand. But you can help by using the affiliate links in the description below. Thanks again for watching.